Good morning. My name's Bruce. It's Sunday morning, the 10th of October 2021, and tomorrow is Freedom Day here in New South Wales. We're going to be coming out of lockdown, at least the fully vaccinated people are, and things are going to change. And anyway, on Friday afternoon, I took around a letter to my neighbours. On the back is my business card. Hello, it says. My name is Bruce. I live at my street, my number and the street, and I'm inviting you to call me on my mobile number if you get symptoms of a viral infection. I will coach you through a simple treatment that may help you get over it more quickly or might prevent you from developing a severe case and ending up in hospital. I'm not selling anything. I'm asking you to try the simple treatment on my website, hydroforcovid.com. You already have everything you need at home. We are coming out of lockdown soon. Hooray! But I wouldn't be surprised if there is a wave of infections soon after Freedom Day. I would feel guilty if I have something that might help with those infections and didn't share it with my neighbours. Then it goes on to tell why I think the treatments won't work. And so I put them in their letterboxes. I haven't had any feedback yet. But last night I watched ran a seminar with a group of wonderful people from down at Dora Creek, and good on you, Dora Creek medical missionaries. Seminar on how to treat COVID. And I encourage them to do what I did, which is put the letters out. And basically the idea is people who got the symptoms of COVID, first symptoms, it's really important when you treat COVID with hydrotherapy that you get onto it very quickly. First symptoms, they ring us. We coach them through how to do the first treatment. And we ask, if you have any problems, please ring me. And also, if you, in 3 days, can I give you a call? Because usually the hydrotherapy only takes 3 days to deal with infectious illnesses. And those of you who know me will know that I've had experience with treating dengue and malaria and Epstein-Barr and various other sorts of illnesses, infective illnesses with the hydrotherapy. And it doesn't take very long for it to have an effect. So 3 days later, we'll ring them back and how's it going? And then can we ring you back in a week's time just to check? And so we'll ring them back in a week's time, and by then they should be pretty well. And at that time we say, can I ring you back in a month to make sure you don't have long COVID? Because even though you've had a mild case and you got over it, you still may have that. So ring them back in a month, and by then you're friends. And you end that conversation by saying something like, at our church we run seminars every now and then that help people with obesity or diabetes or heart problems, and we can help get your cholesterol down. Do you mind if I give you a call? Because I think it might help you when we run the next program. I don't think many people would object to another phone call from a friend they probably have never met. So that's what I hope to do, a little bit of medical missionary work in my neighbourhood. But what's been amazing in the last week has been that I've found out about the 1889 and 1890 pandemic, which was probably the first pandemic in the connected world. It killed about 1 million people out of a world population of estimated 1.5 billion. But they think now it may have been a coronavirus pandemic. The symptoms are very similar to what this COVID epidemic is that we've got now. So it might have been. And what was fascinating was when I found out about this, literally 2 steps away was my photocopy of the 1914 textbook, Principles and Practice of Hydrotherapy for Medical Students and Practitioners by George Knapp Abbott. And he was one of the early professors at Loma Linda, and in my opinion, probably the finest hydrotherapist in history. A wonderful man. You can read more about him in the 7th Adventist Encyclopedia. He's on page 1. Worth reading his story. But he gave a simple treatment, and it was even more gentle than what I'm promoting on my website. I'm not sure whether to modify things on the website or not, but a very gentle treatment. And last night, and Ben, you know who you are, a friend of mine wrote to me, and he, after I'd run a previous seminar on what I call dendritic cell, and he gave me a long list of improvements to make it better. So, Ben, I took notice of what you did, and I taught how gentle it was supposed to be, and I taught people about why they did things and how the treatment should go. And I think it went well. I really enjoyed last night. It was a very, very positive, uplifting meeting. And we need those sort of things in this day and age. So that's exciting. That's the good news. But what's really bugging me now is the the vast lost opportunity, because I think back to March of 2020 when I first got involved in all of this COVID and hydrotherapy for COVID business. When I think back to then, I knew hardly anything. I thought I knew quite a bit. But I got an email from Dr. Roger Schwelt and in California, and he asked me to get together a protocol for treating COVID with hydrotherapy. And what, I'm not sure how it had come together, but I went to some of those early meetings and they were so exciting. I think there are around about 300 Adventists mainly from the United States, but from all around the world, who had got together to deal with this pandemic. And we were looking at the 1914 pandemic for 1919 pandemic as a template for what we should do, at least treatment-wise. And we had a great time. There were people there, but one of the leaders that was there was Dr. Zeno Charles Marcel from the General Conference Health Department. And the early stages, we were thinking of developing a randomized controlled trial, running it out of Loma Linda possibly, and just working out what the best hydrotherapy was for this, and using it, I guess, was the tool. But the rot really set in, and I'm going to name names this morning, but the whole excitement and the beauty of those early days started to become sour when Dr. Zeno was asked by the General Conference to pull back from it. He couldn't participate because were we too radical? Which, looking back, was totally mad. A totally mad solution. What's too radical about this? This stuff comes straight out of Seventh Adventism. In the previous year, I've realized that what we as Adventists have is totally unique. There are people who do hydrotherapy, sure. There's places in Europe that for hundreds of years have done hydrotherapy, but it's become spa kind of therapy or rehabilitation therapy. They don't use it to treat major diseases. And then here in Australia and the United States, there's a lot of spa hydrotherapy, and there's been hydrotherapy that's been influenced by the science, things that produce things like the fever therapies and the fever treatments, the fever baths. And and from the spa therapy, you get things like contrast showers, alternate showers. But we, alone of anyone in the world, have this concept of treating disease that came right through from the time of Abraham, 2000 BC, right through to now. It's been practiced by the Romans, by the Greeks, by the Aboriginals here in Australia, by in Thailand. They do it in their temple steam rooms, and every society has used hydrotherapy to treat infectious disease, but it's been forgotten. It's been forgotten, except by Adventists. So we had this unique therapy to take to the world. And General Conference decided to pull back out because it was too radical. A couple of weekends ago, was it last Sabbath? I can't remember. Last weekend. It was last weekend. There was the North California Conference put on a seminar about the vaccine. The vaccine. Anyway, it had on it had Roger Schwelt was on the panel, and another friend of mine that I've met through this process of hydro for COVID, Joyce, I think her name is pronounced Choi. Both really beautiful, caring people. And my wife and I watched the webinar conference, which was held on Sabbath afternoon, Northern California time. And it was horrible. It was totally horrible. Besides the YouTube channel, they've got the comments going. And here were Seventh-day Adventists. There's no other word for it. They were slagging off such vitriol against their conference officials, against the doctors, calling them the most awful names. And is this what you do on a Sabbath afternoon? And then this week, a doctor, a friend of mine in South America, contacted me and he said, "Bruce, you should get on to this webinar." And there was I didn't have time. I was at work when I got the message on my phone, and when I got home, I watched the recording or part of it. And there was my friend David, a pastor here. He's been my pastor, complaining about what's happening in Australia with the vaccine mandates and so forth. And the program was run by Dr. Leila Lewis. She was also in those early days there in back in March, April of 2020, in those wonderful times when we could have done so much. And she's talking about liberty of conscience. These people, David, you've got your depression and anxiety recovery program. This is the time you should be doing that, not complaining about the government. Leila, you've got this huge potential to help people with hydrotherapy. You're worrying about liberty of conscience? What about these people dying? And General Conference, you guys, is this what you wanted? Our church is splintering apart. It's being torn apart by stupid, devilish arguments. What we could have had by the middle of 2020, we could have had a couple of good randomized control trials. It would only take maybe a month of measurements if we could get enough. We had a worldwide reach. We could have done something back then that we could have put before people and said, look, hydrotherapy done early in the disease when symptoms first occur will reduce death rate by 50%. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something as good as that. I know, I've used hydrotherapy. I know how strong it is in these infectious diseases. And we could have quickly worked out through trial and error, certainly, but we would have worked out a really good routine, a really good protocol that we could apply around the world. General Conference, you would have had people ringing you from countries in the world saying, why aren't there Seventh-day Adventists in our country? You've been neglecting us. Send people over because we want to know how to do those treatments that you're the only people who know how to do. We would have had people coming, ringing you up and saying, thank you for presenting this. You saved my mother. She would have died if she hadn't had those treatments. And instead we're having pastors. I got a phone call this week from a lady, from a young woman. She was on the way to treat her pastor, her church pastor. He'd been, Mrs. White calls it simply wild hydrotherapy. He'd been doing simply wild hydrotherapy. There are doctors recommending fever treatments for this, for COVID. This man had the symptoms of COVID. He probably had COVID, this pastor. And he had been doing fever treatments. And until they had so weakened him that when this young woman got to the place, she could barely even do fermentations on him. And if this man dies, they're going to say, oh, hydrotherapy doesn't work. Look, there are people out there dying because we didn't do this stuff. I don't want people on my street to die because I don't tell them about it. I don't want people here in Australia. Friends, if there are Australians watching this, guys, ring me up. You can contact me, hydro4, that's number 4, covid.com is my website. There's a place to contact me. I'm willing to train you so you can help people. It's really simple. You can do it at home, to train you so that people will ring and you can tell your friends. You don't have to put letters out in your neighbourhood, but you do let people know that you know how to do this. So when they get the first symptoms, because I think we're in for a wave here in Australia, they will have symptoms. When they first get symptoms, they can ring you And you can help them because they're worried. People are really worried. They're really scared. That's why this poor minister did so much fever therapy. He'd been told, we got to kill the virus. Guys, you don't have to. This is simple, gentle treatment. The verse I love at the minute is Micah 5 verse 7. It says, and the remnant of Jacob were among the peoples as dew from the Lord. That's how Jesus healed. He was this refreshing, gentle presence. And that's what this hydrotherapy is. It's refreshing and gentle. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful therapy. And you're going to have people walk up to you after this happens. They're going to say, were you that person I spoke to? I'm glad you were there. What a wasted opportunity we've had around the world. Don't waste it here in Australia. Contact me. I don't mind training you. But I don't want you contacting me about this, about vaccines and about arguing about whether they're good or bad. Guys, we don't have time. We don't have time. It's time to be helping our neighbours. This work isn't going to finish until the medical missionary work and the third angel's message get together. Okay, I think the General Conference blew this one. Maybe we can do something locally. I don't know. All I know is that I'm seeing friends who I have workmates who have lost their job because they won't get the vaccine, and that's fine. What really hurt me was I didn't get a chance to say, maybe it's God calling you to do medical missionary work. Guys, don't waste this opportunity. Please contact me if you want to help your neighbours, if you want to help yourself. But friends, Jesus said, love your neighbour. He said, and don't go fighting with the people in the church. That's demonic. The virus, the physiology behind the virus is it has this policy of distract the immune system, send it off on this useless inflammation of the lungs, and distract and delay the immune response, delay the adaptive immune response. That's the policy of both the coronavirus and the devil. And this whole argument about vaccines and liberty is a distraction, especially for Seventh-day Adventists. We have a job to do right now. We have a therapy for this that is effective. We have something that will bring the gospel. What is the gospel in Ministry of Healing? The gospel is Christ came to bring health of body. He came to bring peace of mind, and he came to bring nobility of character, a character like his, a character that's loving and caring, a character that would make you that will make you shine like lights in the world. That's what Daniel promised, that the wise will shine like stars in the night, in the darkness of this world. And the world's really dark at the minute. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's just not a very happy place. And if we do Christ's method, and people are asking me why I think there's a little time of peace coming, and that is because we haven't tried Christ's method yet, and the first step in Christ's method is that we have to mingle with people as one who desires their good. And we can't mingle, certainly not here in Australia, just at the minute. I want you to mingle, desiring their good. I want you to bring peace of mind and health of body to people. I want you to demonstrate Christ's character. So ring me up if you're interested in doing that, or contact me. I haven't given you my phone number. I'm not going to, but you can contact me through the website. And also, if you do have any power to change things in the way the church sees things, this is totally Adventist. There's nothing there. I'm quite happy to teach people how to do this stuff and to teach people how to do community work with it. And I'm really sick of this division, this splintering. We have work to do. Please join me in it. Hey, anyway, I've got that off my chest. God's blessing to you, His peace, His joy, His happiness. Even at this time, we can have happiness. And don't be like the silly people in Jerusalem. You know, one thing that is one really wonderfully bright spot for me has been every Sabbath morning at 6:30. And this is not something I'm inviting you to. There's 5 of us get together, and I think that's a big enough group. We get together and we study the third angel's message. And we're in the most amazing verse in the Bible. We've spent, must be close to 2 months now, on just one word in chapter 11, and that's the word, Revelation 14 verse 11, and the word is torment. And to understand that, Christ was tormenting Jerusalem at the end of chapter 23 of Matthew. And this is why God is so mad at the people who worship the beast in his image, is because they rejected him. And in the last days, the job of the church is to represent the character of Jesus to the world. And in face of the beautiful character of Christ, the people who worship the beast in its image have totally rejected the person who gave his life for them. And his anger isn't, his wrath without mercy, as it says in verse 10, is not just this anger because they didn't choose him, but it's because, like at the end of chapter 23, he said, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. He says, Babylon, Babylon. He's saying to the world today, how I long to gather you together as a mother hen gathers her chickens. And the saddest words in Scripture. But you would not. What a stupid decision. Friends, we've got this job to take to the world. That's the third angel's message. Jesus wants to gather you. He wants to protect you from the wrath to come. He wants you and your neighbours to have hope, to have healthy bodies, to have peace of mind. He wants you to become like him by going and helping other people. That's the message. That's the whole message. When that works together, it is irresistible. Only the stupidest, only the most resistant people could reject such a message. Guys, contact me if you're interested in working for God. I don't charge anything for that. If you want to talk about virus and liberty of conscience, contact me too. But I charge for that. I do charge for that. It's about $1,000 an hour per person. But if you can get a group of you, like at least 3, I'm willing to train you and willing to help you become that, like a dew among the people in your neighbourhood, fresh, healing presence. Have a great day.